I don't know how much more radio I have, but I know that I have a lot of personality to continue to give. I lived before radio, I've lived during radio, and I'll live after radio. But radio is going to be a part of me for the rest of my life in some capacity because it's such an outlet for me. I wouldn't know how, Liz, to turn that off.
Ask questions, make connections. I'm Liz Hernandez. Welcome to No Room for Small Talk. Collaborating with FYI allows us to call on AI personas in these conversations. So Fiera, let's play a round of No Room for Small Talk.
Let's roll the die. From the category connection, what makes you feel connected to someone?
And who better to answer that question than one of radio's most legendary voices, Big Boy.
I would say for me, Liz, it's vibe. I've been on Earth like long enough that I'm more into quality, not quantity. I speak to a lot of people. I'm around a lot of people, but those that I kind of choose to be around me, that's pretty much quality. So if I can kind of vibe with you, and if I want to sit quiet, we could be quiet together. If I want to talk, we could talk. If I want to laugh, we could laugh. But and you only meet a certain amount of people like that now. And that's why when I do have a circle around me, I keep a very tight circle of people that know when I'm Big Boy and people that know when I'm Kurt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they're pretty much the same, but you got to know that I'm not going to always be like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's more, my connection to people have to be really just quality.
They allow you to be you.
Allow me to be me, 100%.
You know, you talked about you're the sixth born in a family of 7. Big, who did you look up to growing up?
My mom. Like, I wasn't like I didn't have to go outside my household. I didn't have to go to, a sports figure or anything like that. At an early age, sometimes you look in your rearview mirror and you'll say, oh, that person was special. Oh, now I understand. I knew that as a child that my mom was special. I knew that my mom was different. So when people say role models, who did you look up to? I looked up to Ida Alexander. I saw the hard work. I saw the love. It's 7 kids, and we never got into you love Charlene better, you love the good, we never got into that. So I never had to look outside of my household to understand how special my mom was.
You never had like a Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson that you just thought, man.
No, I could look at like the Muhammad Ali's, and everybody got these low-hanging fruits, but it's different when you don't have to. Like there's someone, any person that you name, right? If it's Oprah, if it is Michael Jackson, whoever, they're a brother to someone, they're a father or mother to someone. So you're looking at someone that is a mother, a father, a brother. So I just looked at my mother. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to look at your dad and this person because I had someone that I could touch, someone that could hug me. I saw my mom put polish on her shoes to go to work, because she couldn't buy new ones. So I saw how special that was. So I didn't have to look out anywhere else. I admired people I was a fan of, but there was no cat. And that was in my mom's lifetime. It wasn't like when my mom passed, I figured that out.
Right.
I knew that from the beginning.
That's incredible. You've talked openly about your dad not being in your life. When it came to male mentors, who was that person in your life?
You know what? I didn't realize that until I went to the Hoffman Institute, like male mentors and, was I missing something? But if I had to give it to anyone, I always, for one, the cliche is, oh, my mom was my dad. That's easy. You know what I'm saying? My brother Keith was very instrumental in my life. And I kind of knew it, but now I know it, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, my love for music came from my brother Keith. My love for credits and looking at certain things and sounds and what I enjoy about music today and art and everything, it came from my brother Keith. You know what I'm saying? So that was one of those where when I look at it, I'm like, damn, that was like either a father figure or, and we come from the village. So the village is, I was raised by my sisters, my brothers.
Was it
I'm
your
the youngest of-
sisters and your brothers that were teaching you about life,
Yeah.
about the do's and don'ts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And have you ever seen the original Karate Kid?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know what Mr. Miyagi was teaching Daniel's son?
Yeah.
He was
Paint
like,
the
oh, you
fence.
got me here watching this. And then he was like, paint the car, do it. And then it was like, oh, shit, you were teaching me martial arts.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from my sister Charlene. And I'm thinking my sister Charlene, I'm thinking that she was the one that, when I had great time, like, oh, she'll call the police on me or some shit, you know what I'm saying? But I learned a lot. And early on, I remember she told me, and something I tell my daughter now and my son, but especially my daughter Jade, that's not your friend.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? When I thought I had like friends and homies and everything, she always gave me like the honest and raw truth. And once I got older, I could understand what her messaging was.
Mm. Looking at the world today, when you don't come from a family of 7, when you don't have mentors on the inside, how important, because you talk to the community all the time,
Mm-hmm.
is it, especially for males, to have mentors when they're young, when they're older, now?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, because I would say you definitely need that. At one point, Liz, I didn't think I needed it or I missed it until I went and did a deep dive into therapy, that I realized like, okay, it's not, and I think we had this conversation where I was saying, and we probably flesh it out a little later, but I didn't think I had daddy issues and all that kind of stuff, And then I realized like the way that I parent is because of my dad's absence. So if there's anyone that you could, even just somebody you can go to lunch with, somebody that you can bond with, somebody that you can have a real conversation or a silly conversation, because as men, everything used to be taboo when I was growing up, Liz. You called them shrinks. You called them head doctors.
Mm-hmm.
You went to get therapy. You were crazy. Now people could say, no, I have a therapist. So I went and did therapy. It's not as taboo. So I would hope that, men, we're going to be men anyway. We can handle it. We got it. Don't worry about it. And we put a lot on ourselves. Same with women. But you need an outlet. And you need an outlet that's kind of like you. Like Veronica, my wife, is my best friend. But there's sometimes I need to talk to Fuzzy.
Yeah.
There's sometimes I need to talk to Yate. There's sometimes I need to talk to Jose. I need to talk to my brother Mouse. Sometimes you need that.
Well, I just think about your career, and sometimes we're mentoring without realizing it. Sometimes we're being mentored without realizing it. And just who was giving you advice when you became big boy and helping you navigate the industry and entertainment? You graduated from your house of 7 where there was love and safety, but now they've never been in the industry before. Who's giving you that guidance?
If we're talking about industry, Augie Johnson. And Augie Johnson had a group called Side Effect, and Augie's the one who named me Big Boy at the age of 15. He gave me so many professional jewels, but life jewels. And Rick Cummings. When I got into radio, Rick Cummings was, I didn't know radio. I knew Big Boy, and I was already Big Boy before I got there. So I knew Big Boy. I knew I had a personality, that kind of thing, right?
And what was Rick Cummings' position when you entered at Power?
Rick at Power, he was, I think he was program director. He was program director, but program director like plus. I don't know if he was like general manager or anything like that, but he was just like, he was the big dog, and he's the one who literally gave me a phone call and said, would I like to try radio? So professionally in radio, he told me, Liz, he said, I could teach you radio, but I can't teach you to be a personality. And he said, you got the personality. And now when I look at people now, it's not like I can kill something on the vine, but I can look and I can say, damn, that person got something. If I could just take that and put that with this, then, like it'll work.
Yeah.
Like it was a girl years ago, decades ago. Liz, do you know her?
Well, and that's why I said sometimes we're mentoring without realizing it, and we're being mentored. You were mentoring me for 12 years, and you didn't realize it. I was being mentored for 12 years. I didn't realize it until I left, and I called you and told you, I said I would not be able to host my own morning show if it wasn't for taking Big Boy's class of radio. You taught me everything I knew.
But you know what's wild about that is the so-called teacher learns a lot from the student.
Hmm.
And you got to know how to either submit or, it's not getting off the throne and walking down and I'm hanging with peasants, but you got to know like that thing is this, and the years that we were together every day, Liz, I learned a lot from you as well. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I was just standing up and talking and you guys were just taking notes. We had real life bonding conversations and
A lot of
and
life lessons.
yeah, and outside of the radio and away from the mics, going on vacations together, our families hanging out together, traveling, those kind of things, those are special relationships. So being in your presence and seeing where you are now and where you've been and what you're becoming, like I sit back and I'm like, damn, like I'm so proud of you because I've seen you come from like this 22, I think you were like 22 when we met. 22 years of age, and you got to think we didn't have phones, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, and we were able to kind of like crash the car and
we were learning together. And
God,
I always say the true testament of a friendship is that it's mutually beneficial, that it's give and take. It's that love is being given and reciprocated.
Very much so.
Yeah. So you grew up in Culver City.
I grew up all
and
over Los Angeles.
all over LA.
Yeah.
But now you've become one of the most recognizable voices in LA. What is that like for you? I know you've been in it for so long, but do you ever just sit back and think, this is wild?
All the time. It's still crazy to me, Liz. This is year 31, right? But it's still crazy that somebody's listening. There's times when I'm live on air and I'm like, dude, somebody's listening to this right now. Or when somebody want a picture. That's still crazy to me. And I pray to God that I never get used to it or feel like, oh, they should ask. I'm big boy. I think I'm so still kind of like in awe of it. Not in awe of success, like, oh, but I'm like, it's still crazy. And there's times literally, Liz, where I'm on the side of the stage and I'm about to be introduced or whatever, and I'll pinch myself. You know what I'm saying? Like 31 years later, and I'm still like, don't wake me up. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I love that. One of the best pieces of advice you gave me early on was you said it's never a problem when people ask for a photo, autograph, your time. It's a problem when they stop asking.
When they don't ask, when they stop, and it take more energy for me to say, no, not right now, than just like, come on, you know what I'm saying? Real quick. Or people will say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to bother you. I know you're eating. And I'm like, dude, that you learned that from somebody else that thought they were famous. Have you heard that when people say, I don't take pictures when I'm eating?
Yes.
Don't come to me at a restaurant. You just learned that from this other person, from this other person, from this other person. Now, if I'm at a gas station, we'll take a picture, right? If we're at an amusement park, we'll take a picture. So why do I have to penalize you now that I'm at a restaurant? oh man, you should have made me at the grocery store. I was taking pictures at the grocery store, but I don't take pictures when I'm eating.
Yeah.
It takes nothing but a second.
And especially in the field that we work in radio, which is all about community.
Yeah, and I love people.
Yeah.
This would be a horrible profession if I didn't like people. You know what I'm saying? Because the people that listen to me, like if somebody say to me, Liz, like, oh, I've been listening to you for years. I say, man, I've been talking to you for years.
Yeah.
It's a relationship.
Yeah. Big Boys Neighborhood is part of LA's culture. What do you personally think it is about the show that makes it so special, that's given it its longevity?
I think people hear themselves in us. There's a lot of same here, me too, I can't believe he said that. And we, if somebody been listening for 30 years, 20 years, or now I got a lot, I could tell when somebody, like certain listeners that just come aboard too. Whatever time you have with me is the time that we share. But when people, like that's something where you still don't get used to, you don't get used to the people, you don't get used, the vibes never go away. So I'm just in a position, Liz, where like even sitting down right now, this shit is crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Like this shit is crazy.
It's a privilege to get to do what we do.
In
for
a major
sure.
way.
Yeah. I've heard this, and I'm sure you've heard this listener say, your voice, your show, it's been part of my growing up.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you? Knowing that you've seen people through elementary school, high school,
Mhm.
college, marriage.
It's special, Liz. And people say, "Oh, I know you heard this before, but I didn't hear from you."
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna like, oh, I hear people say, "Oh, you're the soundtrack of my life." I heard it yesterday. If I go somewhere today, I'm gonna hear it today. And it's wild because I have people that say, "I used to drive to school, and my mom would drive me to school, and we're listening to you. Now I'm taking my kids to school, and my kids are listening to you." I can never get used to that. And that's not a problem. We both know, and anyone that's watching or listening, they know what a real problem is. And I always tell people, I say, man, all this love you get, I get, whoever gets, what if all that love turned into hate? And I couldn't walk out the house because I didn't know what you were going to do or what you were going to say. So I would take all this love. I tell people, I say, I don't run from love. I run to it.
mm.
Mhm.
Was there someone growing up that you listened to that you relate to the way listeners relate to you?
Mhm. Yep. Richard Pryor was funny to me. Eddie Murphy. And then radio, it was a dude named Russ Parr, Bobby Jimmy, on the original K-Day, 1580 K-Day. Like Liz, like Ludacris would come to the station, Ludacris would always tell me, man, you remind me of Russ Parr. Because Russ Parr was in LA when I was growing up. And he did parody songs, and he was just a funny guy. And this is before you had 1,000 channels, and you know, you kind of just tuned in, and he was like a voice to me. I've always kind of like found my way to like entertainment and funny people and things like that. And he was one of those in radio for me.
Wow. And it can be so hard to separate yourself from, I'm now that person
Mhm.
for so many people,
And for so long.
millions, and for so long.
Mhm.
Do you ever just sit back and think about that?
All the time. All the time, Liz. Like all the time. There's times when I'm at my house, right? Because we have bouts of homelessness, all that, right? I'll sit and I'll just look at my backyard and I say, damn, that's my backyard. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll drive my car and I say, damn, this is my car.
I own this.
Yeah. Or I'll hear somebody say, big boy. And I'm like, damn, that shit is crazy. Like, Liz, it's literally, you know me, Liz. Like, there's no front, no $3 bill phoniness to me. Like, I really still trip off of that.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I
you know,
believe it. And I see it because I see the way you spend hours with the community. But what has radio taught you about yourself? Whether it comes to the power of storytelling, community, connection,
All that.
staying authentic to your voice.
All that.
Because I think for me, that's been one of the biggest lessons is I know when I'm being authentic and when I turn on
Yeah.
my radio voice. And I have to pull myself back.
I think radio has taught me throughout the years, and at certain times, like now radio is a little different because there's so much cancel, the cancel culture, and you gotta have your mental editor going. But I think what radio taught me was it's one of those things where it taught me how to be vulnerable. It taught me how to, and this is, not knowing that these things are going to happen. It taught me how to communicate. It taught me how people think I talk, but radio taught me how to listen. And there's a difference when people, like, I can do an interview, right? But if I didn't listen to what you were saying, then I'm not doing my job. I'm just doing this. I'm not learning anything from it. So
Well, that's the key
I
right
don't
there.
do interviews. I have conversations, and then I don't jump on people. I don't do interrogations. If there's something you don't want to talk about, we're not going to talk about it. But I think radio has also, for me, Liz, it's been a safe place. It's been my biggest demon, you know what I'm saying? And it's been my biggest accomplishments. It's been my biggest triumphs, my biggest fears. All that has been radio, and I lived a lot of that through radio. When my mom passed, right? My mom passed on a Wednesday. I was back at work on a Friday. And it wasn't because I didn't love my mom or I just had to jump right back in. it was such a safe place for me that I had to get back there. And I felt bad that my family didn't have that they didn't have these people that can call and say, man, I'm sorry about your mom, or just walking into the room and there's love in the room, you know? So I've had some of the best moments through radio, you know? My kids, I announced my kids on radio. I announced the death of my mom on radio, my marriage, everything that in my life that I want to share has been on radio.
There's something really powerful about that sense of community, connection, and also people witnessing our life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I learned that our grief has to be witnessed, but so do our celebrations, so do our life lessons.
Yeah.
It's just a part of what makes us feel connected.
And I know that with some of the things you've been through, I know that your community showed up and you needed that. You know what I'm saying? You needed that because you could have 1 million people listening, but you could still be the loneliest. And those are real emotions, you know? But having someone when your mom passed, having that, you know.
The thing I learned, one of the biggest lessons I learned about radio wasn't until I left radio.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the power of storytelling and vulnerability. Because when people would come up to me on the street, it wasn't, hey, I remember all the Laker parades. Hey, I remember swearing in our first Black president, Barack Obama. It wasn't, I remember 9/11. I remember when J-Lo was in the studio, Will Smith, you name it, Jay-Z. It was, I remember when Big Boy made you cry. And it was, no, it wasn't you made me cry. It was, I was going through a breakup. Mm-hmm. And you were playing sad music to make it. You were playing some.
Yeah, we were much younger back then, though, Liz. Yeah.
You were trying to intensify my emotions.
Oh shit!
And it was funny, but that's what made it such a sweet moment. Mm-hmm. It was like I was really going through something.
And here I am.
But you brought the humor, and it allowed us to laugh.
Did you understand it then?
I didn't.
Right.
I didn't until I walked away from it, and I saw that's what resonated with me.
Well, let me tell you, like you didn't understand it then, right? I don't understand it now. Because I wouldn't do that now. That's fucking crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think the
give and receive is crazy.
Yeah. And I was away from radio for 10 years. When I came back, that was the sole intention. Be as real and vulnerable as you can be, because that's how you allow other people to feel seen.
Mm-hmm. I totally understand it. That even with radio now, I have conversations where I'm like, what am I doing with this microphone? You know what I'm saying? So you come to these different parts in your life. It's not about different parts of radio. You come to different parts in your life where you're like, I need to pivot a little bit.
Well, speaking of pivoting, radio has changed so much. What has been the toughest part for you evolving with the change? Because we used to go from 8-minute talk breaks to you got 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah. You know, I don't even say big boy anymore. I just say big. It's definitely different. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You got to start at the end now.
Yeah.
The mornings I can get away with a little more talking, but yeah, radio has changed a lot.
Evolved with the music, the caliber of guests, what you could get away with, and the attention span of listeners. So what has been the hardest part of that for you?
All that. And I know that sounds like a broad stroke, but yeah, you know, the one thing that I had to come to grips with, and this was early on, even before a lot of the changes in radio, is people don't want a history lesson. You know, I can't come on, and if you hear a song, I can't come on and say, hey, man, that sample's this, man, that was sampled from the Temptations. And I don't give a, I just want to hear this song. So I don't come on and say what radio used to be and what it be not on air, but having a conversation with you. It's changed, and you got to change with it. You know, the artist, you know, how you said at one point you could get Beyonce, you get Jay-Z, you get this person, and now the artists, they're not
coming. Had a whole morning
in,
with them.
Yeah, they're not coming into radio like they used to.
Right.
The only thing is I have a different relationship with a lot of them that would do the show. But the music is different. You know, the it's the same, it's the same pie, but the slices are so much more smaller, you know.
But why does radio still matter in your mind?
Radio still matters to me because you can get an automatic playlist, right? And the thing with radio for us, or for me, my entire career, is you could play a hit record, but what's between that hit record? You know, I think that's why when you were talking about how people would come up to you, how people come up to me, it's not when they said, man, when you dropped that Snoop Dogg such and such, man, I remember when y'all played that 38 times in 1 week. They didn't say that.
Right.
It's what was between that. So I think that's what's still special about radio, Liz, is what's between that? What am I saying that has a connection with you and me? What am I saying that have a connection with this 18-year-old Latina, this 24-year-old African American, this 45-year-old? What am I saying? So now if you see when we worked at Power together, radio and records were specific. You knew if you heard such and such, you're listening to Power. If you heard this, Backstreet Boys, whatever, you're listening to Kiss. Now the playlist is so shared by genres and demographics now that anyone can play what you're playing now. But now, are you going to listen to Drake with Seacrest and what he has inserted in the middle? Or are you going to listen to Drake with Big Boy, what he has inserted in the middle? So it's really because we're all playing the same things now. It's what I'm talking about and the experience that we have. And do you trust what I'm saying? And trust is when you build something with your audience, they hold you to that.
Yeah.
That's when we talk about authentic self.
I think when radio has been its most powerful is when we are collectively as a culture and a community going through a big life event.
Mm-hmm.
After Kobe died, I turned you on. After Nipsey died, I
Those
turned
were
you.
hard shows.
And I want to talk to you about that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you walk into your morning show when you're still processing it as Kurt?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to turn on Be Big Boy and help everyone else in LA process big events. And I've been there with you. We went through 9/11. I was only there 9 months. We went through 9/11 together. And now we've gone through, social unrest. We've gone through the wildfires. We've gone through immigration raids.
And we're getting through, we're in crazy things now.
We're in wild things now. And I constantly think of you because I know how hard it is being in the driver's seat and I haven't even processed what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you process? And you're
together
having to be responsible for the words that come out of your mouth, how you paint the picture, and how LA is receiving and beyond those emotions from you.
I think if we went one by one with Nip, right? Nipsey passed on a Sunday. So that means literally I was like, how do I say this? So if I pulled the tape from that day, it's just raw. Like I'm literally looking at the clock and it's like the record's counting down. It's counting down. I gotta go live. So as soon as I turn my mic on, you hear nothing. You hear nothing but like sniffles and I talk, it was just like if the microphone wasn't in front of me, like if I was just having a conversation. And the same with Kobe. I remember when Pac passed, right? I announced to LA that Tupac passed. And this is before all the social media. It was like Pac had gotten shot. He was in the hospital. And we started hearing things from inner circles. So I make we heard Pac would die. We heard Pac died. Everybody's kind of like, making these phone calls. And so we crack one and it's a real source. So now I'm like, I got to go announce. And I'm literally, Liz, walking down the hallways. And with each step, I'm like, what am I going to say? Because even posthumously, people hold Pac. People that didn't even know Pac hold him high. This is Pac, like when people were like, this is Pac. So now I gotta go, and we're already watching like, man, he's gonna make it out of this. So now I gotta go turn on my microphone and tell people that Tupac died. But the way that I told you Los Angeles was the way that I heard it. I didn't walk down the hallway and see somebody go, man, Tupac died. Hey, man, Tupac died. Tupac died. Tupac died. I didn't have 8 Tupac dies before I got to the microphone. I heard it, walked with it, and then when it first came out of my mouth, the mic was on. So I get people all the time that tell me, like, man, I heard Pac pass from your show. I get shows, Liz, that come back. I get 9/11 that comes back a lot for me. Because people were, we were there. We were live. Remember, we saw the second plane go into the building live.
That's one of my most memorable days with you.
Mm-hmm. And we tried to do a regular show.
Yeah.
We came in thinking we was going to do phone taps and Mickey Ficky
we
mix.
went from being, radio personalities to being hard news anchors.
Yeah.
I mean, it was us having to report news in real time.
And we threw everything away that day.
Yeah.
We thought we were going to do a regular show. And then we even had people calling from New York. It was just different. And I think that people accepted that from us. They wanted that from us. And thank God that we were in a position where we could deliver it, and we could deliver it unfiltered because people could hear it.
Well, I give you so much credit for that day, for just having the smarts to keep the city calm, to have the forward knowing of, let's not make this where we discriminate against each other. I mean, you were talking about the things that would come later, but you were already in front of it.
Liz, the mic is powerful.
Yes, it is.
And that's what's so scary about who has microphones now.
Everybody. So let me ask you, Big, in your opinion, what does make a great radio personality, host? I like to use the word influencer loosely, but a true, influencer used to hold a lot of weight. And, but what do you think that is?
It's hard now, Liz. It's because anything that I say would sound like it'd sound like the old days or whatever, because everybody has a mic now. Yeah. So I don't know what makes someone good, because there's someone that I feel like they're delivering venom and they could be doing so well. So I don't judge by how well they're doing.
But I think the question I want to know from you is, in your opinion, like when you see someone and you gravitate and you're like, wow, they're a fact checker, or they got a great personality.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Delivery, checking your facts, being human, and there's a lot of shock out there. We were shocking, but we were fun and we were this and, but there's some people that's just out to kind of hurt you, or they just know that they're coming at someone sideways. So for me, it's somebody that does, are your facts straight? How's your delivery?
You can tell when someone cares about the product, when they care about what they do. And that's one of the things I always felt, in my opinion, made Big Boys Neighborhood so special, was that for us, it wasn't about being a shock jock. It was who could make the other person laugh in the room, who could get the biggest laugh. Right? Who would come with that 1-2 punch where Big was going to go to commercials because you said the funniest thing in the room. And to me,
and get out.
That was always what made showing up, coming prepared, doing our thing. Because once I get all this work out of the way, then I can just show up and try to be funny and hang with.
And good times.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want a room of good times. You know what I'm saying? And then as much as we can clown and have fun, you want to hear like, damn, they're crying right now. You know what I'm saying? Like this is life. And I think that's what we brought. And that's what we continue to bring, is that sometimes people need to get away. Yeah. And I know how to get enough news in, and I watch the news, and I'm always looking because if you're not, I got to deliver it to you. But you got to know how to get enough. And we're living in, and we've always had it, Liz, where I always tell people we living in the world of enoughs. Like, I got to be corporate enough, hip hop enough, black enough, brown enough, male enough, soft enough, hard enough. You know, there's all these enoughs, and you got your own enoughs. And so with those enoughs, you got to know how to, you know, and they're not fake. Like, oh, you got to be this. No, I'm talking about just feeling people and delivery and making sure that you are tapped in the right way with what you're speaking about, you know?
And if you feel like you are that person, what advice would you give someone who's trying to cut through in the crowded space right now? Because it is jam-packed, wall to wall.
And you know, I could tell you, take your time, but sometimes, you know, taking your time not going to get you to where you're going. I remember when I took a speech class, the instructor said, the first thing you want to do is make yourself notice. So one day he came in and he was about to start talking and he yelled fire. And I don't want to mess up the mics here, but it got your attention. Then he delivered the message. I would say if there's anyone that's getting in or doing certain things now, you got to have a cut through. And I don't mean a cut through by jumping on a fucking counter at Burger King and doing crazy stuff like
Blanking
that.
on money.
Yeah, you know, but you got to have something that either separates you from the rest, or if it's not separating you from the rest, will make you just as good as the rest.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, you know, everybody want to be, I always say, man, everybody want to be on stage. Who the fuck want to be in the audience? Everybody want to do this now, you know?
Yeah, I think one of the things I've learned for myself is that it's so easy to emulate, to say, oh, she's a good reporter. Let me sound like her. Or he's a great personality. How can I morph into that? And then I heard Oprah say, when she was coming up, she was watching Barbara Walters. And she's like, I'm going to try and be like Barbara Walters. And then she realized very quickly, nobody's going to do Barbara Walters as good as Barbara Walters. Right. So I might as well try and be the best Oprah I can be.
And that didn't work out.
And and I took that with me, because if I sound like every other person, and we see that now with social media, there's an octave, there's a cadence, there's you know, a replication. And
everybody sound the same.
Everybody sound the same. Everybody looks the same. And it's like, if you're trying to cut through, your greatest power is just being yourself, because nobody can replicate that.
I've literally had conversations, Liz, where I've told ladies that I work with, you're not Liz. You know, and not, you know what I'm saying? Because they would do certain things and they would say, Liz, like, and if anyone's watching, they're like, damn, he did tell me that.
And I get that there's a blueprint, right? Yeah. We're trying to, because we've all been there. But then I think that's why that is such a powerful thing to remember, is what are my strengths in being authentically who I am? Because no one can replicate that.
And I mean, you can go to anywhere and pull somebody's blueprints. You can look at a building and say, that's a nice building. And you could build your own building. You know, you could look at it. People could look at what you do and say, oh, damn, Liz killing the game. You could take something and not make it your own, but make your own. You know, this isn't about...
Be inspired by it.
Yeah. And I'm inspired by a lot still.
Yeah.
You know, I'll look at certain things and I'm like, oh, shit, they're on. Or they're doing this, or I love this. So I'm inspired every day. If somebody's inspired by me, you don't understand how I'm inspired by so many. And it's not even my so-called entertainment peers. I'm inspired by just the so-called regular person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was at this this tamale spot yesterday, right? And I'm literally sitting there and I'm watching the lady do handmade tortillas. But then I'm talking about, I overanalyze. I'm like, damn, those are oversized. I'm like, damn, how's she dipping? Like, and I'm inspired.
I'm laughing because I know this about you, and I watch the way you study people.
Oh my God, man!
Yeah. But that's what makes you a great storyteller.
And I study for flaws. I study because I'm like, damn.
Because but that's what makes you a great storyteller, is that you're paying attention to the small details. And again, in a world that's moving so fast, we don't want to pay attention to the small details. We want the instant gratification. Someone could have been sitting there and saying, when is my tortilla going to be ready?
Right.
As opposed to like, wow, look at the art that goes into, and the dedication and the effort. Big, you were inducted into the National Radio Hall of Fame. 2015. Even when I was writing this down, I was like, my friend has been inducted into the National
Yeah, you know some
Radio
trick-
Hall of Fame.
Liz, go ahead. I forgot. Right when you were reading, I was like,
When that just comes across, are you like, I've made it?
yeah, dude. And my thing is this. I did kind of forget until you just brought it up right now. You know what I'm saying? But I remember, I think we were in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. The award ceremony was in Chicago. But I remember when I got, the nominated, inducted. Some people probably like, oh man, it's nothing. Liz, I was in there crying like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Because it was another thing that Ida's son did. You know what I'm saying? Like, people know me as Big Boy, people know me as Kurt, but if you know my production come this, like my only tattoo is Ida's son. And that's before my mom passed.
Yeah.
So I'm literally sitting there like, dude, Ida's son got this. Like, this is crazy.
Mama, I made it.
Yeah. And it's wild because you don't do it for that, but I don't turn my back on it either. You know what I'm saying? Every accolade that we got, I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
What's the end goal? Do you feel like you've accomplished everything you want to accomplish in radio?
Nah.
And I don't mean the end goal for career. I just meant in radio.
Right. No, not at all, because it's hard to say the end goal, because if I would have had it before, I've had so many already. I've had number ones, I've had Marconi's, I've had Radio Music Awards, I've had the induction into the Rock and Roll. What if I would have said, man, if I get inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's it.
Star on the Walk of Fame.
So now
Yeah.
I would have been out the business 10 years.
Sure.
So I don't have the end goal. I'm just like, I'm working. And with radio, I don't know how much more radio I have, but I know that I have a lot of personality to continue to give. I lived before radio, I've lived during radio, and I'll live after radio. But radio is going to be a part of me for the rest of my life in some capacity, because it's such an outlet for me. I wouldn't know how, Liz, to turn that off. Even if I was, somewhere.
Waking up out of your sleep like,
yeah, on a bus bench, like, big boy. So I wouldn't know how to not. Sometimes you think you want quiet, and I love quiet. Sometimes you think you want something different. And then how you said when you left radio, did you miss it after a while?
I realized.
And for certain reasons?
I realized the specialness of it. And it didn't hit me instantly that I missed it. It was, here's what I missed. I missed the people, the community, and the connection. And there was something that I felt like I didn't leave everything on the table. And when you feel like you haven't left everything on the table, you got to go back. And that's what I felt.
And you know what I love about it too? You did it your way. You're able to step away. And you didn't step away from the business. You just were able to step away. And when you could step away and come back, for one, being in radio, even when you were absent from radio, your name never left radio. You know what I'm saying? Like, it never left. But being able to come back and people still love you and value you, and they've seen your growth, and they share these stories with you. And then, Liz, you can take your listeners and move their bodies to a location, not just turning your dial or pushing or having a preset. When you could have people actually get up and go to where you are and meet and have these conversations and this dialogue, that's something special, because that means that not somebody bought a ticket, but that means I trip still. And understand when I say this, that I'm on somebody's calendar. Like, if I have a guest, I'm on their calendar. So what they're doing the night before, they're like, oh man, we got to such and such, we got to go do Big Boy tomorrow. That still trips me out.
Yeah.
The same way when you do your events, you're on someone's calendar. They want to have a moment with you. They want to share something with you. They want to see you. They want to be in the room.
But that's what I was saying.
That's powerful.
But it's that, what I spoke about, mutually beneficial.
Yeah,
is
very
that
much so.
I'm benefiting from them because they're filling my cup as much as I'm filling theirs. And when you respect that reciprocity, man, it
People
is.
have no idea what they give to us.
Yeah.
You know, they think that we just like, oh my God, you got none. You have no idea
Yeah.
what you given to us. Like what we get from you.
It's like charging your
Yeah.
iPhone, you know,
Every day.
every day, every day. When you and I first met, you told me there was a club I did not want to be in. Do you remember? I signed on in 2000.
I'm hoping it's not the club that I'm thinking it is.
It is. You told me I don't want to be. I'll never forget because you were still pretty raw. I think your mom had just passed.
Damn. When you said the club.
And you said, Liz, this is a club you don't want to be in. And I didn't get it until I got it and it happened. And grief has been such a incredible teacher. It's taught me so much. What has grief taught you, Big?
It's taught me a lot. The cliche is nothing lasts forever, that kind of thing. But I never thought it taught me vulnerability. It taught me weakness. But Liz, it taught me so much strength. And by that, I mean, I never thought that I could live without my mom. I never wanted to. Not that I was going to do something to myself, but I never thought I could live without my mom. And when my mom passed, just waking up the next day, I was like, how do you do that? How do you wake up the next day? How do you have an authentic laugh again? You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that came with that. So I learned it's this strength that you have to learn, even though you don't want to. And it was so, losing my mom, Liz, was like, it was so hard for me. But I had to my mom would tell me to live. You know how some people say, I give it all up for one more day.
Mm-hmm.
If I did that, my mom would be pissed. She'd be like, what? But it taught me how to love different, how to look at life different. The whole cliche of nothing lasts forever. Yeah. It taught me special moments. It taught me, and when my mom was on earth and when my mom passed, Liz, I don't have I wish I would have. For one, that's unhealthy to say, man, I wish I would have had one more year with her. I didn't. You know what I'm saying? Why am I going? I didn't. I wish I would. I did quite a bit with and for and in my mom's, now in her honor. So the things that it taught me was it taught me how to love different too. Yeah. It taught me how to love those around me different. It taught me values, and it really taught me, Liz, that things get easier. They never get easy.
Right. Yeah. I learned don't save anything for a special occasion. And death is the ultimate teacher of impermanence, of everything is temporary. And, I think about a lot of the isms that I've learned from you along the way that are just now my school of thought. Don't make a permanent decision off a temporary emotion. One of my personal favorites that I apply all the time is tuition to the school of experience. What has been a hard lesson, Big Boy, that you are now grateful for, where you had to pay a high tuition to a teacher to the school of experience, but you're like, you know what? I'm so grateful that I learned that, because that is now the wisdom
Aside
gained.
from the conversation about like my mom, I would say my tuition to the school of experience, health. I started to take care of myself early enough. I was over 500 pounds, and but not knowing how important my health was. And now that I have an 18-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter, I tell them, move your body, exercise, do this, do that. Not that my mom didn't tell me that, but we didn't grow up on that. So my tuition into the School of Experience, as I'm sitting here now, I got 2 totally replaced kneecaps because the weight that my knees had to bear for many years, gastric bypass. So I got to be on supplements and this, that, and I got the most radical gastric bypass you can get. So I'm always on supplements, certain things for the rest of my life. But I caught it and I have a chance. But my tuition into the School of Experience, and not that, I wish I would have jumped on a little earlier. If I could tell anyone, man, take care of yourself. Because we're so into this hustle and I got to do this and I got to do that. And I'm guilty of that. But if you don't have your health, when you get on a plane and they tell you, secure your mask, people just put their headphones on and you don't listen to that or what that really means. I can't take care of Veronica, Jade, and anyone else, anyone that know me, the listeners, whatever it is, unless I take care of myself. If I'm not good to me, I'm not good to anyone. So really my tuition into the School of Experience was that.
Health first.
Yeah. And there were lessons that you had to pay attention to in life.
I remember when I first started, I used to ask you, babe, you think you'll ever get married? Do you think you'll ever have kids? And you used to say, if I have a kid or kids, it'll be oops and accident.
Yep. My first kid will be named Oops, and my second kid will be named Accident.
And now you're married, you have a beautiful family. How has that changed the way you open up your mic and the way you live life?
It's a different kind of responsibility because you always knew that people were listening, right? But now you would say, man, would you say that to your daughter? Would you tell your son that? What about when they go to school and they hear daddy say something? It doesn't change. Well, I'm still, wild on air, but being a father, and if you an attentive father, it changes you. And people can look and say, oh, big change or such and such change, whatever. I hope so. I hope I did change. You know what I'm saying? People always want to hold you like, oh man, he don't do this, he don't do that. And not just me specifically, but, he don't come to the hood. I'm here and they're like, yeah, people change. Allow me to change. And if you don't allow me to change, I'm going to change anyway. Mm-hmm.
What do you hope your legacy will be? As a person, as a radio personality, what do you hope in your heart that your legacy will leave behind?
Career-wise?
Career-wise.
I just, if there was conversation, and I mean legacy, and it's 2 ways to say that, if I'm here, like, man, he was great. I loved it. He was so funny. He was this, that. If I'm not here, it's not about the star or whatever on the Walk of Fame kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? And people say they don't want it, but Liz, I love love. I want people to be like, dude, I loved him. I love when he cracked the mic. And not in passing, I'm not dead. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about if there was a legacy, I want people to say like, damn, Big killed that shit. And then whoever is either next or that person, that I'm that one. You know what I'm saying? I'm that one where people say, man, Big, dude, I loved your show. Or I love this, I love that. So I want my legacy to be truth, honesty. He was funny, genuine. He sounded like he was a good person. Those kind of things, So I would love for people to speak well, and that's important to me. How people say, I don't care what they say. I do. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things, negativity is not going to knock me off my square, but I do care about how I'm received or how I'm looked at or how I'm viewed or what's being said, because I put a lot of time into that.
It's character.
Yeah. And I always say, man, character is what's being said about you when you're not in the room.
Amen.
When you're in the room, people can say the most beautiful things about you. When you're out the room, somebody say something that say, man, that don't sound like Big. It's not the Big I know. That's not Liz. Or your name come up like, oh my God, I love her. You know what I'm saying? That's character. You can't buy that. We've seen it this year. The most rich, people, the wealthiest financially, couldn't buy character.
Yeah. Well, they say what's more powerful, money or influence? Influence. Yeah. Can you influence people with your character?
And that's what's so
with your
scary
integrity.
now. With the word influencer. That's what's so scary now. Who are we being influenced by? And who influenced them? Like I'm constantly looking at what my kids are looking at. I'm on social media, I'm looking at, what's hot and seeing little girls do a certain shit. And I'm like, damn, like it's a whole different world.
Big, do you want to answer one more question?
Not really. No, I will. Yeah.
Fiera, let's play another round of No Room for Small Talk.
Let's roll the die from the category acceptance. What has taken time for you to accept about yourself?
That's wild. I'm still learning. I gotta accept that I can't do everything. Because I try to be like so much for others that I gotta learn how to accept, like, bro, like you can't be Superman. You can't be the saving grace for everybody, So, accept that my kids are growing. Accept that I'm going to be disappointed, not by my kids, but there's going to be disappointments.
Yeah.
Accept that life is going to continue to be, to life. Accept that anything that I'm doing, I have a lot in my rearview mirror. You got to accept that and accept what's coming through your windshield. So I think that's what I'm learning the most right now, Liz. That's so crazy that question came up, because acceptance is, man, that's so much. Do you want to be accepted by people? Do you not care being accepted by people? So I think that's I gotta accept that I'm a human being.
Surrender.
Yeah, surrender. That's what they said at Hoffman, surrender.
It's all about surrendering.
Yeah,
surrendering
man.
to each moment, each day, each experience. Yeah.
I accept that.
All right. Big, thank you for being here.
Come on, it's my pleasure.
It means so much. I love you so much. It'll make me emotional, but I've learned so much from you, and I'm so grateful.
Thank you, Noah. I appreciate you. I love you, Liz.
I love you.
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Have your own deep conversations and discussions with me and the other FYI AI personas by downloading the FYI app today. Available for free in the App Store and Google Play.